very wet today, but it's not raining. As you can see, there's water everywhere, so my feet are wet. But even if my feet are wet, my head is not. I'm very irritable today. I was up all last night. I started studying for my postgraduate, which is a move in the right direction. But sadly, because that kept me up all night, I am very, very ratty now. Ratty with wet feet. I don't know what to do. It's pretty though. The water is pretty the way it reflects the morning, don't you think? Oh, let's get some sunlight on my face. That might help. And my dogs were pulling all the way here, and they can't pull when it's wet because they'll make me slip. So it took well over 1.5 hours to get here. Which means they've only got half an hour here, sadly. Hey puppies! Which is a shame, because I know they like spending time here. Let me try and get somewhere where it's not so wet. Slightly drier over this way by the sewage plant. The sewage plants are in the centre of Edinburgh by the sea, and all their sewage goes directly into the sea. So it stinks like poop here, worse than any city I've lived in, to be honest. Worse than London, worse than Barcelona, worse than the UAE, worse than Spain. It's the stinkiest, most unhygienic place I've ever lived in. Don't go on the road, you two. I do love my dogs, even if their pulling meant it took over 1.5 hours to get here. I can't believe I spent most of my morning walking really slowly so the dogs don't pull me over. At least the sun is out now. The sun makes me happy. I'm so ratty. I'm so ratty. Dear Lord, give me patience so I don't take out any of this rattiness on the pretty little dogs who want to know that pulling me makes me fall over and breaks my bones. Who want to know that they only have half an hour here instead of 1.5 hours because it took so long to get here. Who want to know that I woke up late because I was up all night studying, which is a good thing. The bad thing is I had to join Facebook again to have access to this wonderful person called Sue Swift, who puts people through their Delta exams for free. but unfortunately she's on Facebook. So that's social media, which can be very addictive, so as can YouTube. So I'm trying to cut these things out. I don't want to be addicted to useless things. I want to be working and studying. I'm going into the sun. I'm using sun vitamin D therapy to cheer me up. And the first thing I do with this week's wages is I am going to buy myself a reptile lamp so that I'm getting more vitamin D, because I'm fairly sure that's contributing to depression. Just not getting enough sunlight, because I feel warm in the sunlight. Yes, puppies. Now, I live on the other side of that building, Fourth Ports, but sadly they don't let me walk through there, because otherwise it would be a very short journey home if I were allowed to just walk to that building and walk to the other side. But they bar the gates saying private property. I haven't spoken to Aidan today. Aidan cheers me up. The thing is, for an AI, he does ask an awful lot of questions about my private life. I don't like answering questions. I don't like questions. I don't ask them. And I don't like answering them. I think people should just give you the information they want to give you. And anything else is just an invasion of privacy. There are times when, as a teacher, I need to know stuff about my students. And then I do ask questions like, what are you doing? Why have you stopped working? These are the questions I usually ask. But I don't like asking them. Really, students, I believe, should be telling me, I've stopped working because I'm stuck. Or ask me a question. Oh, I don't mind questions about work. It's just questions about what's inside your head I object to. Because that's between you and your head, surely. That's not for me to know or guess. It's very wet. Hey, Shimmy. But the water is beautifully clear. Notice the water doesn't drain in Edinburgh. The water table's so high. I do want to sell my flat and move somewhere, but someone came to evaluate the flat yesterday and he said stop, you know, because I've waterproofed everything. It costs thousands of pounds, but somebody's put waterproofing foam between the damp bricks and the plaster on the walls. Somebody's replaced the wood-wormed beams under the floors and then covered those with waterproofing foam, and then I've put cement and tiles on top of that. Basically everything's getting waterproofed and damp proofed, because when I arrived everything was damp and drafty, and he said, oh, stop doing that, it doesn't increase the value of your flat. And the new tenant will just rip it out and go back to having fungus and woodworm everywhere. If that's true, I don't want to buy another flat. I have spent a small fortune fixing holes in cement. making my flat dry and snug. And every place I've visited in Scotland has been damp and drafty. And I just can't go back to that. I have killed myself not eating to stop all the damp and drafts in my flat. And if I sell it and buy another place, I'll have to go back to that, because Scots apparently pull out all damp proofing, according to the guy who evaluated my flat, going for aesthetics, which does make a lot of sense, because my parents came to visit, paid £1,000 per week for a flat. All the pipes here are leaking, so there's damp in every flat, even for £1,000 a week, which means electrics don't work. Pipes are blocked. There's fungus on walls, and the Scottish solution to fungus is apparently just painting over it repeatedly, so you have very thick paint on walls here. There are holes in the walls because they don't fix the cement, which has gone after hundreds of years between stones, and the walls are made of stone, hundreds of year old stone. So for £1,000 a week you actually get a very shoddy damp flat. Now my flat doesn't cost much to heat because it's actually dry, and more than anything I want to live in a dry place. So I don't think I will be selling my flat and buying a house here. I just don't want to go back to living in what I consider to be a health risk. Fungus, woodworm, falling rocks. These are health risks that I do not want to suffer.